In just 3 years, one AI chatbot has quietly flipped the entire how we look things up habit on its head. And this shift isn't just about a new app on your phone. It's about a new default way of thinking about information. 3 years ago, if your faucet was leaking or you wanted to understand inflation, you probably did one of a few familiar things. Typed a question into Google, hunted down a how-to video on YouTube, or tried your luck asking a smart speaker like Alexa. Today, millions of people skip all of that and go straight to a chat window, type their question into ChatGPT, and get an answer in plain language. That subtle change in which tool people reach for first is at the heart of how ChatGPT has reshaped everyday tech use. And this is the part most people underestimate. As a professor and director of research impact and AI strategy at Mississippi State University Libraries, the author sees this not just as a cool new gadget, but as a fundamental reordering of the information tools people rely on day to day. Instead of search engines, video platforms, or voice assistants being the automatic first step, conversational AI has become the new front door, the place many people now knock first when they need clarity, instructions, or a quick explanation. How searching is being rewired. The striking shift is not that search engines or other tools disappeared. It's that ChatGPT has moved to the front of the line as the first stop for many information needs. Within a few months of its launch on November 30th, 2022, ChatGPT reached tens of millions of weekly users, and by late 2025 its regular user base had grown into the hundreds of millions, putting it in the same league as the biggest consumer technologies in history. That kind of adoption doesn't happen just because people are playing with a novelty. It signals a real behavioral change. Surveys conducted over this period show that use of tools like ChatGPT has climbed sharply rather than fading after an initial burst of curiosity. By 2025, roughly twice as many U.S. adults reported using ChatGPT compared with 2023, and a clear majority of adults under 30, around 58%, had tried it at least once. Polling focused on AI usage also finds that about 60% of U.S. adults who use AI say they use it primarily to get information or answers to questions, with that share jumping to roughly 3/4 among people under 30. In other words, for many younger users, asking AI is now a normal, everyday way to look things up. Traditional search engines still sit at the center of the online information ecosystem, but the role they play has shifted in measurable ways since ChatGPT entered the mix. For years, people turned to Google for nearly everything. Resetting a router, decoding a news headline, or getting a simple explanation of a complex policy. Those straightforward, clarifying what does this mean? Queries used to make up a huge chunk of search traffic. Now, those are exactly the kinds of questions ChatGPT tends to answer more directly, more neatly, and often more quickly than a long page of blue links. And people have adapted. A 2025 consumer survey in the U.S. found that a majority of respondents, about 55%, now use AI chatbots such as ChatGPT or Google's Gemini to help them look up information, with usage rates even higher in the UK. Another large-scale analysis of over 1 billion search sessions suggests that traffic flowing from generative AI platforms to other sites is climbing, and that roughly 13 million U.S. adults already treat generative AI as their primary tool for online discovery. That is a small fraction of the total population, but a very large group considering how recently these tools appeared. None of this means people stopped Googling things. Instead, it means ChatGPT has peeled off a specific class of questions. The ones where users want a clear explanation, a definition, or a draft response, not a long list of pages they have to sift through. Curious about a recent policy change? Need a concise definition of a financial term? Want a tactful way to respond to an awkward email? For many, it now feels faster and more natural to ask an AI that replies in paragraphs than to scan headlines and snippets. Search engines fight back with more AI. Of course, Google has not simply watched from the sidelines. Its search results look and feel different than they did 3 years ago because Google has started blending its Gemini AI system directly into the top of the results page. Many users now see an AI overview, a generated summary answering the question, before they ever encounter the traditional list of links. For quick, basic questions, that AI box often satisfies the need on the spot. However, these AI summaries are not flawless. Sometimes they are accurate and helpful. Other times they can be incomplete or misleading. Yet, in both cases, many people never scroll beyond that AI snapshot. Combined with the effect of external chatbots like ChatGPT, this has fueled a sharp rise in what analysts call zero-click searches queries, where the user gets what they need without clicking on any search result at all. One report that drew on traffic data from the analytics company SimilarWeb found that visits from Google to news sites dropped from more than 2.3 billion in mid-2024 to significantly fewer within about a year. Over the same period, the share of news-related searches that ended with zero clicks rose from 56% to 69%. For news publishers that depend on search traffic, that's a deeply unsettling trend. And here's where things get controversial. If AI overviews and chatbots summarize the news so well that people never click through, what happens to the business models of the organizations doing the original reporting? Google's core strength has long been its ability to direct users to a wide variety of sources and viewpoints. But from a user's perspective, the search results page can feel noisy, cluttered with ads, and structured around maximizing clicks rather than maximizing understanding. ChatGPT, by contrast, offers a single, cohesive, conversational answer that emphasizes explanation and coherence. The trade-off is that its responses often lack transparent sourcing and may compress or omit the range of perspectives that a traditional search would expose. In terms of accuracy, neither tool is perfect. Google helps users cross-check information by comparing multiple sources, while ChatGPT's reliability tends to depend on how the question is phrased and how clearly the user specifies what they want. Some critics argue that this makes people overconfident. A smooth, authoritative-sounding narrative from an AI can feel more trustworthy than a messy page of links, even if the AI occasionally gets important details wrong. Should we be more worried about people trusting AI confidence over traditional signals like source diversity and reputational cues? Smart speakers hit their limits. The ChatGPT effect doesn't stop with search engines. It spills over into other devices people use for quick answers. Voice assistants like Amazon's Alexa or Google Home are still found in many households, and overall ownership remains relatively high. But growth has stalled and even dipped slightly. A 2025 summary of voice search statistics suggests that the share of Americans using voice assistants for search fell from around 35% in 2023 to the low 30s by 2025. This is not a collapse, but it does hint at a quiet resorting of which tools people choose for which tasks. When someone wants a detailed explanation, a multi-step plan, or help drafting a message, a smart speaker that fires back one or two short sentences starts to feel constraining. Once you become accustomed to a chatbot that remembers context, refines its answers, and lets you ask follow-up questions in natural language, a voice assistant that behaves like a talking search box feels like a step sideways. For quick, hands-free actions, turning on lights, setting timers, playing music, smart speakers still shine. But for more complex, open-ended queries, many users now reach for a laptop or phone and open a chat interface instead. The underlying expectation has changed. People increasingly expect technology to respond like a conversation partner, not just a command listener. YouTube stays huge, but its role shifts. YouTube, on the other hand, remains a powerhouse. As of 2024, it boasted billions of users worldwide and has steadily grown since 2010, cementing itself as one of the most important platforms for video content. Among U.S. teenagers, YouTube is the single most widely used online platform, outpacing most social media networks and streaming services. However, the way people arrive at YouTube and what they use it for is changing. Many users now start with ChatGPT to get a summary, overview, or checklist, and then turn to YouTube only when they need to see a process visually. For example, someone trying to understand their health benefits might first ask ChatGPT to break down the jargon in simple terms, then watch a couple of videos if they want to see real people walking through specific scenarios. The same goes for crafting communications. If a person needs help writing a complaint email or a professional response, ChatGPT can quickly draft several versions, suggest alternative phrasings, and tailor the tone. Only when the task involves a physical procedure, say, replacing a bicycle chain or repairing drywall, does the user often think, okay, now let's see how someone actually does this on video. In that sense, ChatGPT acts as a front-end filter that narrows down what information is needed before the user invests time watching longer clips. what's happening in niche communities. This chat first, then search deeper if needed pattern also